for more on this story, I'm joined on set by our French politics editor, Marc Perelman, and also our business editor, Charles Pellegrin. Welcome to both of you. Marc, I want to start with you. What are the political stakes here for the Macron administration?
They're huge. Essentially, he's playing his mandate on this reform. Why? First of all, because he's already a lame duck because he just won re-election, but he cannot run again. And he decided, against all odds, against the advice of many around him, to go immediately with this very controversial reform, despite only having a relative majority in Parliament. And this is a reform that he already tried, a different kind of reform. During his first mandate, there were days of strikes, of demonstration, and there was a lot of hesitation about what the government should do. And then COVID hit, and it was stopped in the tracks, and it never regained vigor in Parliament, and it was abandoned. Now he's bringing this back on by moving the legal age of retirement up 2 years. He has the unions united like they've never been before. So he might have found a solution in Parliament, a deal with the Conservative Party to get enough voices to pass this through Parliament. But Parliament has no say, if I may use this word. It is not what you should be saying in a democracy, because the streets will deliver the verdict on whether he will win this huge gamble that he's taking right now.
Well, we have these massive protests happening today in Paris, across the country. President Macron is on a diplomatic visit to Spain. Was this the best time to make that visit? What are the optics here?
Well, clearly some unions are saying, well, this shows that Emmanuel Macron doesn't care about the French people, doesn't care about their problems, doesn't care about their worries. The Élysée Palace is saying, well, he's going to meet the Spanish prime minister and the government. This has been scheduled since October. We're not going to cancel this important diplomatic trip just because the unions last week called for a major day of demonstration. The problem is not so much the president. The problem is that he's bringing with him a dozen or so ministers, some of which are concerned by today's strike, starting with the interior minister, because obviously there are strikes, there are demonstrations, but there are also 10,000 police officers on the street, because there's always fear when there's such an amount of people on the streets that there could be violence. And so if the interior minister is in Spain, well, that could obviously be a problem for the government if things turned sour on the streets.
Has the government done an adequate job, do you think, explaining what's at stake here to the public?
Well, if you read the polls, the obvious answer is no. Clearly, because most people are opposed to the reform, and most people are in favor of the strikes and the demonstrations. So the government clearly didn't do a good job, because first of all, in his first mandate, Emmanuel Macron said, raising the legal age is not going to work. He's done exactly that. And then they started explaining, we're doing this to finance green transition, schools, hospital. And now they're saying, no. This is just to salvage the pension system, to maintain it as it is, to make sure we keep it. So the explanations have varied. They have not done a good job. They know it. But they're hoping that they're going to convince, and that they're certainly hoping that the strikes, the demonstration, yes, they'll be today, but hopefully there might be a tomorrow, but eventually this will recede and that they will win it. But there's absolutely no guarantee that this will be the final outcome.
Okay, French politics editor Marc Perelman. Marc, thanks as always. And next I want to turn to our business editor, Charles Pellegrin. Charles, so raising the retirement age from 62 to 64, it's the cornerstone of the plan, but there are other measures as well. For instance, the gradual elimination of specialized pension schemes. What are they, and why does the government want to get rid of them?
Well, these are pension arrangements organized by specific sectors or companies that allow for often lower retirement ages and shorter contribution periods. We can see that in France there are 42 of them, so it's quite a lot. Some examples: the Paris transit workers, the RATP, who are on strike today. They're concerned by this. They have their own pension scheme. Same goes for electricity or gas workers or workers at the Banque de France, France's central bank. The government believes believes that getting rid of these schemes would make the system less complicated and less outdated, really. This would also guarantee, obviously, more revenue to put in the pension, the general pension scheme, in addition, obviously, to the main measure, which is raising the retirement age. So this would guarantee avoiding a deficit come 2030, which is the main the year that the government has in its horizon. From a political viewpoint as well, it's worth noting that these specialized pension schemes are also seen as unfair to a lot of people who were in the general scheme. So it's quite perhaps a popular take with some political some people on the political spectrum. So the government proposal here is to incrementally get rid of them over the years, and when this new reform is enacted, at least theoretically in September 23, any new hires in these companies, in the RATP, the Paris Transit Company, or the electricity group EDF, these new hires would no longer contribute to this specialized pension scheme. They would contribute into the general pension scheme instead. However, to show you how complicated it is to reform the system is that there's still exceptions. Some small ones, like the Paris Opera, they have their own pension scheme, and they've managed to negotiate to not be affected by this reform. But also some slightly larger industries like air traffic controllers or customs agents as well.
Well, another aspect of the plan involves better support for older workers. What can you tell us about that?
Well, the government knows that if it's going to ask people to work longer, it needs to make it more attractive for older workers to continue working. So it's going to, in the plan at least, encourage transition periods where people can, at the same time, benefit from their pension and also continue working at least part-time. And they also want to create what they are calling a senior index, by which workplaces would be assessed on the basis of how they treat older workers. That would provide more transparency and would encourage workplaces to treat their older employees better. Unions right now, like the CFDT or CGT, are fighting for this anyway, regardless of raising the retirement age. And if this reform is going to go through, they're going to fight for even more guarantees. It's essential to do more to protect the senior employment and senior employees, because it could cost a lot to have these people work longer, a lot more in paid out unemployment benefits, because older people on unemployment tend to stay on unemployment longer. It could end up costing more in paid sick leave or in welfare benefits as well. This is called a spillover effect and could cost an additional 3.5 billion euros.
Okay, our business editor, Charles Perelman. Charles, thanks so much.